When you need news and information, turn to the most complete and authoritative news source in the market. Turn to the Columbia Daily Tribune and think in ink.
Hello and welcome again to the Columbia Daily Tribune's Behind the Stripes webcast. Dave, it seems like we've barely left and we're back again.
It's amazing, isn't it, how that works?
It really is. We're going to look forward to the Bowling Green game now. Bowling Green, kind of a surprising the way they dominated Troy. Troy's a team that I think was expected to do well, if not win the Sun Belt Conference. And Bowling Green took care of them pretty handily. What sort of challenges do you think they present to Missouri, and do they present a possibility of upsetting Missouri?
Well, they bring a little bit of the unknown. It's a brand new coaching staff there. Dave Clawson is the head coach. People might recognize him. His name, at least last year, he was the offensive coordinator at Tennessee. Wasn't a very good year for Tennessee's offense or for Tennessee in any offense, defense at all, because it was a bad season. But he's got a really good track record at smaller schools. You know, he's been out on the East Coast. He was a head coach at Fordham, head coach at Richmond. Is Dave Steckel, Missouri's defense coordinator, is really familiar with him. They both coach at Lehigh University out in Pennsylvania. Not there at the same time, but he's very familiar with him, and what he brings offensively is a lot of variety. So I think Missouri will have to be prepared for just about everything as far as the looks they'll give. So it's a little bit of the unknown, but you know, this staff knows better than to take any Mid-American Conference team for granted, especially the Bowling Green Falcons, because we all know that Gary Pinkel, now granted it was a couple years ago, but they're 0-2 against this program. That was when Urban Meyer was the coach at Bowling Green. But I'm sure that the Missouri coaches that are still here from that 2001-2002 series has not forgotten losing to Bowling Green.
Just in terms of what they have, I mean, maybe who somebody fans should look for from Bowling Green. Who's
Well, Tyler Sheehan is their quarterback. He's a returning guy. He's in the top 5 list for their career records for just about everything as far as a quarterback goes. And they've had some good quarterbacks over the last couple of years. A couple guys that spent some time in the NFL. So he's a veteran guy that they always play BCS conference teams pretty tough. They beat Pittsburgh a year ago. They beat Minnesota a couple years ago. They usually play Wisconsin. They played them tough. So they won't necessarily be intimidated coming into the Fro Field. Freddie Barnes is a wide receiver who had a huge game against Troy. So I think, you know, that they've got some personnel, and I don't think Missouri will take them lightly. And I think the fact that Missouri's coming off such a big win, but it's their first time at home, new scoreboard, under the lights, I think it'll be a really great atmosphere.
And Missouri is obviously pushing to seeing if they can get the numbers up to 70,000, which would be, it would surprise me if they could do that for a Bowling Green game, but they are optimistic. I don't know, we'll see how that goes. I think people do get interested in things like new scoreboards, and I guess we'll be interested. And we'll be interested if they have the same soundtrack as they've had the last 25 years.
Let's see if they've updated the 80s hairband music a little bit this year, but some people like that. We'll see.
It's from my era. We're going to go now to viewer mail.
All right, this week's question is from Mike in Kansas City, and it's a good question, talking about Blaine Gabbert. Who else? Blaine Gabbert seems to hold the ball longer and rely on his arm strength more than Chase Daniel. Will that get him in trouble versus a decent pass rush? Good question, but I thought he faced a pretty decent pass rush against Illinois. You know, he got sacked twice. One was on the intentional grounding. He got hit a lot more than that, bounced right back up and made the next play. Even on some of them, he made a great throw when he got hit. So they need to do a little bit better job protecting him, but that's going to happen when you're in a spread offense. You're not going to have 2 tight ends and a fullback back there blocking the backfield. But I think he gets rid of the ball. He's got fast enough. He's got a good release. He throws it so hard that I think the more experienced he gets in this offense and playing against live competition, I think the better he'll be as far as making decisions and just what Gary Pinkel calls quarterbacking, you know, just the management of things back there. And I think he was pretty good the other day. So I don't know if he'll face a better pass rush in these next 3 games. I'm guessing against Nebraska probably will with their defensive line, and then obviously when they play Texas and a couple of other Big 12 teams. But I thought what Illinois gave him was pretty good. They threw some blitzes at him, and he was right on target with Denaro Alexander on one that I remember on 3rd and long. Hit Denaro right in the middle of the field, went for a big gain. So pretty good performance so far. I'd say that's a pretty promising job that he did against a decent pass rush.
And as Gary Pinkel described, the difference between him and Chase, one of the differences anyway, is that Gabbert has a little quicker release, whereas Chase was better, at least late in his development, as just the timing aspect of it, anticipating the receiver's moves before they made him, and was able to compensate for what he lacked in arm strength that way. So just logically, you can hold on to the ball a little longer if you've got a quicker release, which he does. And also, he's a guy that's, if your arm is that strong, you can throw off your back foot, or you can...
Yeah, which he did a few times.
You can absorb a hit and still complete a pass, which he also did. All right, well, that sums up our week in 2 parts of the Behind the Stripes webcast. So tune in again next week when we will discuss the Bowling Green game, and look forward to Furman.
That's right.